"Ma'am, you are illegally cooking on private land. The fire department is on the way." That's what she said, and in that split second, I knew things were about to spiral into chaos, the kind you only see in small towns with big egos and too many rules. Picture this. I'm standing by my old BBQ smoker at the cabin my dad built, ribs sizzling away tongs in one hand, country music humming behind me, sun sparkling off the lake pretty close to heaven, when Karen from the HOA stomps up flip-flops, slapping the gravel pearls swinging, looking like she's ready to serve an eviction notice at a backyard cookout. But she wasn't alone. Oh no, she had two HOA board members flanking her, looking about as comfortable as teenagers forced to dance with their parents at prom. Before I could even blink, sirens echoed through the trees, fire trucks, a sheriff's SUV, the whole 9 yards. At first, I thought somebody must have had a heart attack down the lake, but nope, turns out they were coming for me. For grilling ribs. 8 minutes later, I did what nobody expected. I evicted the HOA from my land. For life. But let me back up a second, because trust me, it didn't start with ribs. It started with a handshake, a dog named Chance, and a man who just wanted peace. See, 3 weeks before all this, I packed up my old pickup coolers, fishing gear, and my dad's battered charcoal smoker, and drove out to the cabin, the only place that's ever felt like home. I'm Mike, by the way. 56, divorced, no kids, just a stubborn old dog, and a heart that only settles down when I smell pine and hickory smoke. My dad built this place in the early 70s, back before there were paved roads or rules, just woods, water, dirt trails, and a sense that what you built with your hands, you earned. Back then, the lake was all wild. But a few years back, somebody sold off a chunk of the North Shore to developers. Up popped the painted fences and weekenders sipping Chardonnay on paddle boards, and with them, the dreaded HOA. Enter Nancy Cartwright, a.k.a. Karen Queen of the new HOA, a woman who thought her clipboard was a badge and her pearls, well, maybe handcuffs. She had no legal say over my landmines, got historic rights older than any HOA charter, but that didn't stop her from trying to run the whole shoreline. First time I met her, I was walking Chance down the old trail. She cut me off, wagging her finger. Dogs on leashes per HOA code, like she'd just discovered fire. I just smiled, told her the trail was mine, predated her HOA by a few decades. She snapped a photo, didn't say another word. My dad always told me, treat folks better than they treat you, so I waved and walked on. But I knew then she'd be back. And she was more than once. A week before the BBQ, I spot two strangers near my fence with clipboards measuring, muttering. HOA inspections, they stammered when I called out. On private land, I shot back. That's when I called Paul. My dad's best friend lives across the cove, wears suspenders with sweatpants, talks only when he's got something that matters. He shows up with a folder, dead serious. They're trying to pull your land into the HOA district, Mike, he says. Saw it on the town board agenda. Chills. My dad made sure this cabin was protected, old handshake deals, dusty, title deeds, the works. Why did they want my spot? Paul's answer was simple. They want the dock, the water rights, and the road that cuts across your land. If they get it, they can start charging lake access. I made up my mind right then. I was going to fight, just not with fists, with food. So I planned the BBQ. Just me, Paul, his niece Ellie home from college, and a couple of old-timers who'd known my dad. We had folding chairs, fairy lights, the smoker going. The smell of ribs brought Karen and her new board members down like wasps to watermelon. She waltzed up clipboard decibel meter, the works declaring my smoker an unpermitted fire event and citing HOA code like she was auditioning for Judge Judy. Paul laughed. We're not part of your HOA, Nancy. She went red. I'm calling 911. I blinked. For ribs. But she did it. And not 5 minutes later, fire trucks and a sheriff rolled up. Deputy steps out, hand on his belt. Sir, we got a call about open fire on HOA land. I point to my deed offer, the folder. Been in the family 50 years. He looks at Karen, then back at me. This HOA has no authority here. Karen goes pale, but I'm just getting started. Now here's where it gets good. 2 years earlier, I'd quietly bought a little strip of land, the only road leading into their fancy HOA parcel 19A. My dad always warned me, buy the access before they buy you. So I did. When Karen tried to boss me on my own property, I told the sheriff, as of today, the HOA no longer has access to parcel 19A. Karen nearly fainted. Her backup dancer started backing away fast. But I didn't buy that strip to get revenge. I bought it to protect my dad's legacy from folks who thought rules mattered more than people. Still, Karen doubled down. 3 days later, I got a certified letter from her lawyer demanding I reopen the road or face legal action. I laughed until I found a blinking device buried behind my smoker the next morning. Wires blinking, red light, no label. Paul poked it with a stick, then frowned. Not a prank. Maybe a tracker. Maybe a live feed. I wrapped it in foil, locked it in the shed, and called the sheriff. Deputy Reynolds came out. We checked the camera, sure enough. 1:13 a.m. Karen in a hoodie creeping around planning something. That was trespassing, plain and simple. I filed charges. Next day, drones, 3 of them, buzzed my dock filming circling. Chance barked himself hoarse. That's when I called Marcia Dean, the toughest property lawyer in the county. What did she do now? Marcia asked. I laid it all out, the road, the surveillance, the drones, the attempt to rope my land in. She didn't blink. Let's play chess. Turned out I owned another key strip parcel, 22, the trailhead, the HOA used for nature walks. Not anymore. Marcia got private property signs posted within a week. I held a BBQ, invited everyone but Karen. Half the HOA showed up relieved, happy to have somewhere safe from the board's nonsense. But Karen, she showed up screaming at the trailhead, ripping signs, only to be calmly escorted away by the deputy. That night she filed an injunction, said I was blocking public access. Marcia just laughed. She's either desperate or she's got no idea how land works. But then something worse happened. Paul disappeared. He went out fishing at sunrise, didn't come back. We found his boat drifting, pole-rigged tackle box, untouched, but no Paul. Just a torn suspender dangling in the water. I called the sheriff, and within hours, divers found him alive, barely. In the hospital, he whispered, "It wasn't an accident, Mike." Something rammed my boat. Someone held me under. I pulled the camera footage. Sure enough, 4:47 a.m. A figure in black ponytail sticking out of a cap, pulling a kayak, Karen's exact build. She'd just bought a new kayak, hard gray plastic, matched the footage. The sheriff opened an investigation, but Karen disappeared, vanished. House empty, car gone, mail piling up. News spread fast. HOA president under investigation for assault. The board panicked. At the next meeting, a younger member, Jessica, stood up and apologized, offered to dissolve any HOA claim over my land for good. It was done, paperwork filed. HOA evicted my cabin safe, at least on paper. But just as I started to relax, I got a photo texted from an unknown number, my cabin porch light on, taken from the woods 2 minutes ago. Karen was still out there, watching. That night, cameras picked up movement, a figure in dark clothes carrying a red gas can creeping along the tree line. At 2:14 a.m., I hit the emergency alert, shouted through my bullhorn. "You're being recorded, Karen. Cops are on the way." She struck a match, tossed it on the shed, but the wood was treated, sprinklers kicked on, and the fire died. Sheriff Reynolds arrived. Chance blocked her escape, and Karen was arrested for arson, trespassing, assault, and violating a restraining order. 3 hours later, dawn broke. Paul and Ellie and I sat on the dock, asking ourselves what she'd really been fighting for. Control, loneliness. Some old grudge. Maybe she just couldn't stand seeing other people at peace. The case made headlines. The HOA dissolved. Karen convicted on every count and sent to a facility with court-mandated treatment. The lake was quiet again. But here's the kicker: when cleaning out the attic, I found old letters addressed to my dad written by Karen decades ago, back when she was just Nancy, looking for a second chance, not a war. She once dreamed of peace here too, but lost herself trying to own it instead of finding it. Her son showed up, handed me her scrapbook and one last letter. It wasn't about power, it was about trying to heal and failing, about wanting to be seen, to matter, to belong. I let him walk the trail, the one his mom once wrote poems about, the same trail she tried to burn. Maybe peace isn't a place. Maybe it's a choice earned a little each day, sometimes by holding your ground, sometimes by letting go. The cabin still stands, the lake is free. And if you stuck with me this far, well, you tell me, what's justice? What's forgiveness? What would you have done? Let me know in the comments. Every voice deserves to be heard.